Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Yes, finally, some walking, a little crunch. I'm not doing the full 5 miles. For those of you that didn't know, when I was doing the walking every day, well, 6 days a week, I was doing 5 miles a day. And so I'm going to start off with half. I feel really good. I am sore, but that's not because of necessarily the back injury from a couple of months ago. It was determined that it was all just muscular, no other damage or anything. And so I've been, tried the deep tissue massage therapy stuff, and that kind of keeps it sore, but it's helping it heal. So I am doing better, but I don't want to, I'm trying to be smart, because it's tough, for us guys to take it easy when we feel good. And I think I still need to not go 100% into, the exercise routines that I had previously. Because I tried that once early on, and it sent me back to zero, and I kind of had to start all over again. But anyways, I'm very excited to be out here walking. I've missed it a lot. It's kind of one of the highlights of my day of getting out here in the woods and getting to walk. I was talking, actually had several conversations this week. It's funny how it kind of turned out that way, with various different people talking about the importance of living as far away from the big cities as possible. It's a ongoing theme that I promote, coming out of Babylon, getting away from the big cities, all these cities of ill repute kind of thing, and why that's important. And I'm sure that there's lots of obvious answers. Well, you can have a little bit of land, even if it's just a 2 or 3 acres. You can produce a lot of food if you do it right. You're away from people. You're, around more like-minded people. Typically, not always, but typically, there's a higher odds of being around like-minded people, especially depending on the region of the country you're living out in the country, if that makes any sense. These cities, they're getting pretty rough. I mean, they've always been that way. Cities have always been that way. I've said it on this channel a few times in the past that it's interesting in the Bible when it's referencing cities. It's usually, maybe not always, but usually talking about them representing some form of wickedness. And also in the Bible, whether it was prophets or Jesus, Yeshua himself, would go out into the wilderness to connect with the Father. I find that interesting. But these cities, while they're bad right now, they're going to get worse, folks. I might eventually do a video specifically on this particular subject, but have you seen these 15-minute cities? I haven't watched it. I was only told about this. I've been so busy, haven't really watched a whole lot of YouTube videos or anything like that in the last week or so. But I guess Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, guess he did a video on it. I've seen a few other things. It's not a brand new thing. It's just becoming more of a realistic thing. It's definitely a big World Economic Forum, United Nations, Agenda 2030 thing, where cities, as far as I can understand, I could be wrong a little bit, but cities are broken down into little small groups within the cities, and they're called 15-minute cities because you can go anywhere you need to go within 15 minutes. So it's like small communities within the city, and that sounds great. And a lot of you that's been from big cities, especially up in the Northeast, this is already something that's that's just natural. You're from a particular neighborhood, and a lot of people live their whole lives in that neighborhood because everything they need is there. Well, in these 15-minute cities, the plan is to keep you confined to that neighborhood where you can't leave. You just can't. I mean, it's difficult to leave, and it keeps people segregated from the others. That the line, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's that big city wall that they're building in Saudi Arabia. It looks like a gigantic version of the wall of China, except the wall itself is the city, and everyone lives inside of that wall. And it's broken up into many different smaller neighborhoods where, you know, the grocery store and the doctor and the barber shop and everything is all in that little pod, so to speak. So you're not traveling to the other side of the city to go to work or to, you know, do any kind of shopping. It's all right there. And of course they're spinning it that this is great, but it's just more control. And it's not just the 15-minute city thing. This is something that has been happening here in the United States with how they design cities. A lot of these big cities, if you ever noticed, if you pull up a map of the city, you can kind of see it a little bit better, of how the highway systems, the freeways and stuff around these big cities work. And if they wanted to, and this is part of their planning, it would be pretty easy for them to shut down a city. Just going to use one for example, Dallas, Texas. That's a big city, okay? Big city. Been there many times. It actually is much easier than you think, because most people say, my goodness, you know, city that size, it's just a logistical impossibility to shut it down. Actually, it's not. With the way their freeway system is working, you see how they put the walls, you know, that's a big thing now. You go through these cities and they have these walls. They say it's sound barriers for the neighborhood, but what it does is it restricts access, access coming in and access going out on these freeways. And so in a sense, there's only just a few points really in a lot of these big cities that they have to shut down, and then you're locked in. It's not as difficult as you would think. And this is all part of pre-planning. I mean, this has been going on for decades, folks. It's almost like these cities are designed to become prisons. The way things are going, how they're going to end up being, I mean, we don't know exactly how they're going to end up being, but we can have a pretty good idea. We can look at examples in recent history in the last few decades. We can just listen to what they're telling us. That's what cracks me up. Oh, that's just some crazy conspiracy theory. Really? When's the last time you went on the United Nations and World Economic Forum websites, read the Great Reset Plan and the Agenda 2030 plan and Agenda 21 plan? When's the last time you read all that kind of stuff? Watch their videos that their people put out, because they're saying it. I don't have to make it up. The truth is stranger than fiction, folks. And they talk about this. They promote it as in fact, the World Economic Forum, they have all these videos on, 15-minute cities and the wall and how cities should actually be. They have these promotional videos talking about this stuff. Living in the big cities, man, it's going to be chaotic. It's a high concentration of people. And like we've said on this channel many times, people's going to be your biggest threat. I mean, yes, government, the police, the federal agencies, military could be, all that kind of stuff. Those are potential threats. Your biggest threat's going to be people. That's where it's going to get dangerous. And you could say, well, you're going to still have to, they're going to round you up out there. It's possible. But based on the research that I've done, the actual training that I have received by those alphabet soup gangs, and things out of the words of even Klaus Schwab himself is that those of us that choose to live out here in the sticks, we're just going to be left on our own. I mean, they'll cut everything off. They'll cut the utilities off, the supply chain off, medical systems. It'll all be cut off. And we'll just be left to our own. And so when that happens, truly your greatest threat at that point is other people. You're not going to be worrying about fighting some standing army, most likely. Sunrise is pretty there. You're going to be worrying about defending against just bad people. They didn't plan anything, and they're hungry, and they want what you have. Whether it's your food, or your guns, or your warm place to sleep, or your wife, or your children. That's what they're going to want. So, one thing to remember is when you're training to defend, that's probably the better way to train, because that's probably going to be the most likely scenario that you have to defend against. That's why when I talk about building alternative systems, our own infrastructure, that's why that's important, because we're not going to be dependent upon their utilities, their supply chain, their medicines. And when we're cut off from that, we'll be all right. We'll survive. Is it easy living this life? I was talking to a brother yesterday that's new to this lifestyle. And he's probably going to watch this. I'm not going to give any secrets away, brother. But he and his family, they lived in a city. You know, they lived in a nice place. And they've decided to embark upon the homesteading, self-sufficient lifestyle. And it's not easy. In fact, there's not too many things I could think of with this lifestyle that really is easy compared to living in an apartment or a house or a townhouse or whatever. It's hard. It's certainly not as comfortable. But man, is it better. It's so much more rewarding. The immediate rewards is very rewarding. The long-term rewards are also. I know I'm going to get lots and lots of comments. Probably going to get lots of emails. That's fine. I will get to them. I'm always behind in emails. Always, always, always. It's a rare occasion if you email me and I'm able to email you back. I'm probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 days behind this week. It's just, that's normal. My wife and I try to keep up. But I know a lot of you are going to say, yeah, but I can't. I can't do it. I don't have a lot of money. You know, I don't have any experience. It's just me. I'm elderly, disabled. I'm stuck here for family or for job or for this or that. I don't know your particular story, but I can tell you this. In the last couple of years, I have gotten to know well over dozens, probably hundreds, of families. They're not all here in the Ozarks, but many are, that have taken the plunge. It was hard. They had no money. I've known people that's moved out here and lived in a tent, lived in their car, lived in a van, a bus, until they could do something else. Lived in a little tiny RV or an old one. You know, eventually get a little, almost what many of you would consider a tool shed and live in it. You know, I've seen it. I've seen people struggle financially where their annual income for their whole family is less than $20,000. Some of it less than $15,000 I've seen. And they come out here and they make it. They make a go at it. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard work. But every single one of them, and this is including my family, myself, my wife, have agreed that we would rather live out here in a cardboard box or a tent or the back of your car and be around others that are like you and have a greater chance of survival than to be stuck in an apartment or whatever in the city. I'm not being judgmental, folks. I know all of you have different stories. But I'd say that the time is ticking away, and that door of opportunity to actually get out of the cities before they shut those highway systems down and you're locked in, or confine you to your, wonderful little neighborhoods. It's getting close to that, folks. I don't know when. I mean, it could be months, it could be years. The fact is it's going to get to a point, it's going to be very difficult to make this move. They don't want you living like this. They don't want you to grow your own food. That's why there's these constant campaigns of how bad for the environment farming is, and growing your own food and having goats and sheep and all that kind of stuff. That's bad for you. Heaven forbid you eat some food that God created himself. Go into the city and breathe in that smog and pound on some concrete and eat some lab-created food, because that's healthy. The idiocy of the world we live in. They don't want you living like this. They don't want you living like this for a reason. Because it won't take too long of living out like this that you start to realize, I don't need them that much. I really don't need them. It's getting hard to think of why I really need them, especially at the level of control and governance that they have over us. I don't know that I really need all that. I can do without. I can take care of. Where we live right now, just as an example, because I know some of you are going to say, well, what if something happens? You got to call police. We could call the police. We have law enforcement out here. It's not anarchy. If I call, it's going to be about 45 minutes. Most likely 30 to 45 minutes before they get here. The years that we've lived where we're at now, I've never once had to call the police, but there has been a couple of incidences of trespassers, and I've handled it myself and was able to resolve it. You learn to do things differently out here. You learn to just living this lifestyle. It's a natural progression to create your own alternative to what the government has to offer in the big city. I mean, I know there's still going to be a lot of you say that you can't do it. And that's what my mama used to say, can't, never, could do nothing, Travis. She'd say that to me all the time. I know of people that are elderly, disabled, poor, single, that have walked away, moved, sold, whatever they had, and moved out to a lifestyle like this, knowing it's going to be hard, knowing it's going to be uncomfortable, knowing they may not make it. But most of them figure they'd rather die on their feet than live on their knees. And I think that's the big thing of why people are walking away from these cities of wickedness, these cities of control, these big brother hubs. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, spiritually. And maybe it's also time to get the heck out of Dodge. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.